town of Ashwood. It was October 1926. Ashwood was a small mountain town in the state of Vermont, USA. Red and golden maple trees surrounded the town, while the cold wind and an eerie silence filled the air. At the top of a hill stood an abandoned church. After sunset, no one in the town dared to go near it because everyone believed that the echoes of unfinished prayers could still be heard there. The old man's warning. Within a few days of arriving in town, the new school teacher, Elias Morgan, met an elderly man. In a calm voice, the old man said, "Never go to that church after sunset. If you do, you'll hear your own name being called." Although Elias laughed it off as nothing more than a superstition, the old man's words stayed with him. Scene 3, the journey up the hill. On Saturday afternoon, dark clouds slowly gathered across the sky. Elias decided that today he would see the church for himself. Carrying a lantern in his hand, he began walking along the narrow path leading up the hill. The only sounds around him were the crunch of dry leaves beneath his feet and the cold wind whispering through the trees. With every step he took, the silence grew heavier. In the distance, the old church gradually emerged through the thick mist. Its broken steeple, weathered black wooden walls, and silent presence made it seem as though it had been waiting for someone for many years. Scene 4, the mystery inside the church. Elias slowly pushed open the church door and stepped inside. Dust-covered pews, shattered stained glass windows, and a massive wooden cross stood as silent witnesses to years of abandonment. Then something on the floor caught his eye. Amid the dust was a pair of fresh footprints. It looked as though someone had walked through the church only moments before. Following the footprints, Elias made his way to a small wooden door at the back of the church. Suddenly, a church bell began to toll somewhere in the distance. Dong, dong. The silence inside the church grew even heavier. Scene 5, the stairway into darkness. Elias slowly pushed the wooden door open. Instantly, a blast of icy cold air struck his face. Beyond the doorway, a narrow stone staircase disappeared into the depths of darkness. Raising his lantern, he stepped onto the first stair. Every step seemed to carry the weight of years of silence. Suddenly, the air around him grew unbearably heavy. Then, from deep within the darkness, a voice slowly whispered, "Elias." He froze where he stood. There was no one from the town who could possibly be here. So, who was calling his name? Scene 6, the hidden truth beneath the church. After descending countless steps, Elias reached a small underground chamber. At its center stood an old wooden table covered in dust. Resting on top of it was a thick register. As he opened the book, the first page read, "Ashwood Church Register, October 1896. Turning the pages, he found 22 names. Beside each name was the same date, followed by a chilling note. After the final prayer, no one ever returned. At that very moment, a soft melody of prayer drifted from a dark corner of the chamber. It was not frightening. Instead, it carried a deep sorrow, a quiet plea filled with years of longing and endless waiting. Elias shuddered. Just then, the familiar melody of prayer slowly drifted from a corner of the room. This time, the sound was much clearer, but strangely, there was nothing frightening about it. Instead, it carried a deep and overwhelming sorrow. When Elias raised his lantern toward the sound, he saw an old wooden rocking chair standing beside the wall. The chair was gently rocking back and forth, but no one was sitting in it. Suddenly, the air seemed to grow heavier. Then the soft voice spoke again. "We never meant to harm anyone. We simply never had the chance to finish our final prayer." Elias felt his fear slowly giving way to curiosity. In a calm voice, he asked, "Who are you?" Several seconds of silence followed. Then, one by one, faint glowing figures began to emerge from the darkness. An old man, a woman, 2 young children, then many more. 22 peaceful faces in all. There was no anger in their eyes, only the quiet sorrow of a long, unfinished wait. One of the elderly men stepped forward. He said, "On that stormy night, a landslide sealed the passage beneath the church. We could no longer find a way out. The people of the town believed we had run away. No one ever came to look for us. Our final prayer was left unfinished." Elias stood there in silence. Outside, the wind began to blow. In the distance, the church bell rang once again. Dong, dong. For the first time, he understood. The sound of the bell was not a warning. It was a call of waiting. He gently closed the old book resting on the table. Then, slowly lowering his head, he said, Scene 9, the final prayer, fulfilled. Tears welled up in Elias's eyes. At last he understood the truth. The souls the townspeople had feared for so many years were never cursed spirits. They were innocent people whose final wish had never been fulfilled. Placing a hand over his chest, Elias spoke in a calm, steady voice. "I promise you, I will tell everyone the truth. Your story will be known, and your names will never be forgotten." The moment he finished speaking, the entire underground chamber filled with a soft white light. The 22 spirits looked at one another and smiled gently. It was as if their long years of waiting had finally come to an end. Slowly, their forms grew lighter, dissolving into the air like drifting mist. For the last time, the elderly spirit looked at Elias and said, "Thank you. Our final prayer is finally complete." At that very moment, the great church bell rang once. Dong. Then everything fell silent. Scene 10, Dawn and the Final Echo. Elias slowly climbed the staircase and emerged from beneath the church. As he pushed open the door, he saw the first rays of the morning sun rising over the eastern horizon. The black mist that had long covered the hill was slowly fading away. A few days later, Elias returned with the people of Ashwood and uncovered the hidden chamber beneath the church. Guided by the old church register and the artifacts they discovered, the townspeople erected a memorial in honor of the 22 souls who had never returned. From that day on, the church bell was never heard again in the darkness of the night. Even so, the elders of Ashwood still tell the same story. If, on a quiet autumn night, you ever hear the faint sound of a prayer drifting from the mountain, do not be afraid. Perhaps it is not a curse. Perhaps it is only the gentle echo of the final prayer of these 22 peaceful souls, who after waiting for a century, finally found their peace. Before you leave, if you enjoyed this terrifying story and want to hear even more chilling tales, haunted legends, and unsolved mysteries from around the world, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new nightmare. We upload brand new horror stories every week, created to keep you on the edge of your seat. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the one